So this is what I'm hopefully gonna cut today. This is a 5-foot long, a good 40 inches across there, petrified log from Arizona. I don't own this log. The guy who does found me on the internet and asked if I could cut it. He tried a whole bunch of different people to see if they would cut it, and no one else would. So he drove all the way from New Jersey to Ottawa to get this petrified log cut. They want to do it in slabs so that we can polish them, and then he can sell them as tables. And that's just a Coke can for scale there. It's pretty massive. Right around 7,000 pounds, I believe. So I just did like a flood coat of epoxy to fill in all the cracks. Then this will get ground down, and the fiberglass mesh and the plywood backing on it. But there's some fairly deep cracks, like this one. Probably mix up some more and fill it some more. And then there's this large hole at the back that this goes down into, so I'm gonna have to try and plug that hole for when I do the fiberglass mesh on there, so that the epoxy just doesn't run straight down through. I think that rot might stretch back further once I start cutting down, because I was filling holes like this and then it just kept taking the epoxy. So, and this hole here. So just starting to epoxy this fiberglass mat onto the back of the what will be the next slab cut. You can see it's just mixing up a bunch of epoxy, pouring it on and then working into the mat. Just about done with this current batch. I gotta go make up probably 2 more to cover all this, and then once that is all on there, I'll come and put epoxy all over the back of this plywood, and this plywood gets flipped up and then put on top of here. And it's all done as one application. Okay, so I've got a wet coat on the plywood, wet coat on the fiberglass, and I'm going to now flip the plywood onto the fiberglass, and then it will be bonded. So it's time to cut off the excess fiberglass mesh here. The epoxy is kind of in this plasticky state, so it's the best time to cut it before it gets too hard. It's a few hours after setting this. Now it's just got the stone on here for weight to hold it down. Been unlucky in all these filled up with epoxy, so I'm gonna have to go around after and loosen those to make sure that they'll come loose before it sets up too hard. Anyway, I'll show you how I cut it here. So I've switched to protecting the plywood with a sealer instead of using epoxy. The epoxy, well, one, it's costing a lot to try and put on a couple coats of epoxy. Plus, it's almost impossible to get a nice finish on it. Doing it outdoors, and just the way it dries with lots of fish eyes in it, and it's just going to make a bunch more work cleaning it up after, versus this should be able to be sanded away easy, and then if you want, you can always epoxy over top of this anyway. So As you can see, it's I just went with a flat black, and I think it's a better way to go between this and the final finish, because there's going to be a lot more steps to do with the polishing. It's just going to be drenched in water for hours on end during the polishing, and as a sacrificial protectant, this is a lot cheaper and quicker to apply. This is my epoxy mixing station. So this is the 5-gallon container of the West Systems epoxy. You can see I'm getting pretty low on it after doing, I think I've done 8 slabs so far. Or I'm on the 8th right now. And this is the epoxy that I use first to fill the cracks on the backside. It's a penetrating epoxy meant for stone. And so once I put that on, then I put the fiberglass mat on, and then I soak it down with the West Systems epoxy. And so that's what I gotta get back to now. Just getting ready to take this slab off. This is the cradle that I've made for the slab. So some 1/4-inch plate slid underneath. And then for the 2 end ones, they're bolted to the T-nuts that are on the bottom of these plywood. And that's all the plywood, and there's fiberglass mesh epoxy to the back of the stone. And then this is just to support it all while lift up. So I'm just about to lift this up, and then I'll use the endless loops straps to turn it 180 degrees. At least that's the plan. See right here, this is where the wire stopped cutting, and I ended up having to change to a different wire right here. Just getting ready to check the rotation of the wire. I've marked it on one side with black marker, and on the other with yellow. So when it runs, we should see it alternating between black and yellow.